There is a version of you that existed before you can remember. A version that cried and laughed and felt fear and recognized your mother's face within hours of being born. A version that was fully alive, fully feeling, fully experiencing the world. And you have no memory of it at all. This is not a glitch. It is not damage. And it is not because nothing was happening. Something profound was happening. Something that may explain not just why your earliest years vanished, but why you are the person you are today in ways you have never been able to trace. The phenomenon has a name. Scientists call it infantile amnesia. And for over a century, researchers have been trying to understand why the human brain erases the first years of its own existence. The first instinct is to assume the memories were never formed in the first place. Babies, after all, seem simple. They sleep. They eat. They cry. Surely nothing complex enough to be stored as a memory is happening in there. But that assumption is wrong. Badly wrong. Research by psychologist Carolyn Rovee-Collier at Rutgers University showed that infants as young as 2 months old can form and retain memories. In her experiments, babies learned that kicking their legs would make a mobile above their crib move. Days later, when placed in the same crib with the same mobile, the babies kicked immediately. They remembered. They had encoded an experience, stored it, and retrieved it. 2 months old. By the age of 3, children can remember events from weeks or even months earlier in striking detail. Ask a 3-year-old about their birthday party, and they will tell you who was there, what cake they had, what present made them cry from happiness. The memory system is working. It is recording. So why does it all disappear? The answer turns out to have less to do with memory and more to do with construction. Your brain is not a camera. It does not record events and play them back. Memory is a reconstructive process. Every time you remember something, your brain rebuilds that experience from fragments, filling in gaps with inference, expectation, and narrative. And to do that rebuilding reliably, your brain needs a scaffold. It needs a self. Here is what developmental psychologist Katherine Nelson discovered in her landmark research on early childhood memory. Children do not begin reliably retaining autobiographical memories until they develop what she called a narrative self. A sense of themselves as a continuous character moving through time. A person who was here yesterday and will be here tomorrow and can locate experiences relative to that ongoing story. That narrative self does not fully emerge until somewhere between ages 2 and 4. Before it exists, experiences happen. Emotions fire. The brain processes and even stores information. But there is no narrator. No one to file the memory under. No continuous thread to attach it to. It is like filming hours of extraordinary footage, but having no filing system. The footage exists, but you cannot find it. And eventually, as the brain reorganizes and prunes itself in the years that follow, the unanchored recordings fade. But here is where it gets stranger. The brain of an infant is not just incomplete. It is undergoing the most explosive period of growth it will ever experience. In the first 2 years of life, the human brain nearly triples in size. Neurons are forming connections at a rate of up to 1 million per second. And that very explosion is part of the problem. Neuroscientist Paul Frankland at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto has proposed a theory called neurogenesis-induced forgetting. New neurons, as they are born and integrate into existing memory circuits, disrupt the connections that stored earlier memories. The very growth that makes the infant brain so powerful and plastic is also what makes it unable to hold on to the memories it forms. New neurons push out old ones. New connections overwrite fragile earlier ones. The brain is building itself so fast that it cannot preserve its own history. Think about what that means. The most formative period of your life, the years that shaped your attachment style, your emotional baseline, your earliest sense of safety or threat in the world, was recorded in a brain that was simultaneously demolishing and rebuilding itself at a pace it will never reach again. The memories did not just fail to form. They formed and were erased by growth itself. And yet something remains. Not episodic memory. Not the kind of memory you can narrate. But something older and deeper. Emotional memory. Body memory. The kind of knowledge your nervous system carries without your conscious mind ever being able to access the source. The psychologist Daniel Stern spent decades studying the emotional world of infants and concluded that the experiences of the first years of life create what he called representations of interactions that have been generalized. Patterns. Templates. Your brain learned, in those unremembered years, what closeness feels like. What abandonment feels like. Whether the world responds to your distress or ignores it. Whether you are safe. Whether you are loved. Whether your needs matter. You cannot remember any of the specific moments that taught you these things. But your body knows. Your nervous system knows. The way you reach for connection or pull away from it. The way you respond to conflict. The way your chest tightens in certain rooms with certain people for reasons you cannot explain. These are the traces of a self that existed before you had the language to describe it. There is something quietly staggering about this. The version of you that cannot be remembered may be the version that shaped everything else. The experiences you cannot access are the ones that built the foundation on which every later experience was constructed. Researchers in developmental psychology now broadly accept that early childhood experience leaves marks that last a lifetime, even when, and perhaps especially when, the person cannot consciously recall the events that caused them. The way you were held or not held. The way your cries were answered or not answered. The emotional